Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of Jerry's Take on China. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Much as I like seeing my subscribers grow, the shares are the most important thing. More people seeing truthful messages coming from China is my goal. That's why I'm here, and I hope it's why you're here too. Michael Jones 825 on YouTube asked me a great question. It's something I hadn't considered before, even though I've looked really closely at China's governance. I've met with and spoken with lawmakers and delegates. I've even been privileged enough to sit in on some of the meetings in the Guangzhou regional offices. And I've been awed by the provincial hall where regional decisions are made. But I've not yet been to the Great Hall of the People, where central government and the CPPCC, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, meets. They meet there every year. Michael's question was, with elections in the West ongoing, I was wondering how politicians in China fund their campaigns for local, regional, or national elections. And the answer is, they don't. They're elected based on the work they've done. If they don't have a great track record or they aren't known in the community, they aren't going to be re-elected at the grassroots level. It's as simple as that. Every election period in the West, and I've lived in the UK and Australia, so I've witnessed this, we are inundated with TV and radio advertising, party political broadcasts, newspaper adverts, billboards on buildings and transportable posters on trucks, as well as every shop, home and garden which seem able and willing to promote their preferred candidate. And it occurred to me, as a result of this question, that I've never seen this in China. Ever. Anywhere. So I asked around. And the reason I haven't seen this is because it doesn't happen. The cost of all this advertising in the West varies. In the USA, Senator Pat Toomey paid out a record $27.8 million at the last election. But don't worry, because the average is only $19.4 million per candidate. In the UK, it's a lot less. Government rules stipulate that a limit of 30,000 per constituency exists. Pounds, that is. And there are 650 constituencies. The 2017 election there cost a total of 140 million. However, individuals hoping to be elected may spend £8,700 of their own or their donors' money, plus a small amount of 6 or 9 pence per registered voter. Now that might seem laughable, but the average constituency in England has 73,000 registered voters. So that's an extra 6,570. And when there are 650 constituencies, it really does add up. Donations are only declarable if they exceed £7,500. So a wealthy business or a wealthy businessman can make one to each constituency on a daily basis. If it doesn't exceed this amount, it need not be declared. We wouldn't ever know about it. In the USA, donations can be made to PACs or super PACs, which are political action committees, and they can collect unlimited funds and distribute them wherever they wish to support, or whichever candidate they choose, or whichever cause they choose. All in all, there's a lot of money spent in democracies to get people elected, and that money needs to come from somewhere. Some of it comes from membership fees for the parties, in the UK particularly, but mostly it comes from donors or unions. And if we aren't bothered by these donations, then we ought to be. If a pharmaceutical company makes a donation, they do so because they want that person in place. If a firearms company makes a donation, they do so because they want that person in that place. If any company makes a donation, which they can, Do they make these donations because they support a cause or a candidate, or because they want the candidate to support their cause? Some companies make donations to more than one party. There must be some reason for this. And it isn't because they support both sides of the political spectrum. Think about that. How can a candidate who spends $27 million to get elected not have some obligation to the people who paid the money that he felt he needed to get there? Please, please do not tell me that we allow this because the people we elect have integrity and honesty. If anyone believes that, there's a bridge nearby that's up for sale. I'll get you a great deal. China's elections are different. They're very localized. People vote for someone they know at the grassroots level. But it's much more complicated than this, and scholars have spent a lifetime studying it, writing books about it, and then explaining it to more scholars who want to study it and write books about it. For the purposes of a 10-minute video, I'm going to make this as simple as I can. There are two aspects to China's governance. One is the party, the government, and one is the CPPCC, the people. Where a local without any affiliation to any party may be elected to supervise the government. Now, to be promoted in governance, you need to be good at your job, and eventually you'll reach high position. To be elected to the CPPCC, you need to have served your community in a way that people recognize. It really is representative governance, not corporate donorship, that gets people up to the next level. I've asked several people this today and yesterday if they voted, and for the most part they don't. My wife doesn't vote either, but her parents and sister do. All of the people I've asked say the same thing. They don't really care because things get done anyway. Life is better now than it used to be. And what's the point of voting against someone who's doing a decent enough job? It's not that important to them. Those people who do vote usually don't care too much either. They read the resume of the candidate, which is posted at the polling station, and they make a decision based on what they've achieved, what that candidate's achieved. Or perhaps they personally know the candidate that they're voting for. The reason my sister-in-law and parents-in-law vote is because they live in a small village, a small community. What happens there means more to them, as it is very grassroots. They vote for a family friend and a neighbor who is the village head, and he's been there for many years. Now, over the time that they've lived there, my in-laws, 80 years, my wife's parents' home has gone from a basically mud hut with a bark roof and a well in the yard to a 4-story, 5-bedroom home with 3 bathrooms. And theirs is by no means special. It's quite a normal home in the area. The road outside is wide, it's sealed, it has parking places for the many cars. The bridge across the river was built 10 or 12 years ago, and it replaced a tree that had been felled across the river and needed to be replaced every year after the floods, which of course no longer happen. You get the picture? They've gone from pretty much medieval conditions to modernity in their lifetime. And this is important. It's actually in the lifetime of the CPC. They trust their friend and neighbor, the village chief, to vote at his regional meetings for his leaders. And those leaders at the regional level vote for their leaders, all the way to the very top of central government. And what this means in terms of governance, everyone who votes only votes for people they actually know and trust to do the job. I personally think that's better than voting for a face presented to me on a placard outside of a voting booth and no knowledge of who they are, who else is paying them for their services, and no record of any achievements that they've made, only a promise that if I vote for them, my life will get better. Will it? Once again, thank you very much for watching Jerry's Take on China, and thanks Michael once again for the question. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.